I would like to point out, G, that you had on last week's episode
Mm.
that I clipped it for social media because that thing you said about the before I'm going to turn it into a drinking game every time G says before, take a drink. Um, about
It's going to
before
be
all,
like 7 or 8 shots at
yeah,
least.
pretty much. But before, it's true. Towing was fun. Like that excitement that you had as a new guy that we get a little jaded for. That has been one of those things that has really stuck with me all week since we did that episode.
Really?
Yes, absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. It has really made me rethink how we do things on our day to day to try and incorporate that again back into it. When things get tough and things get forgotten and business gets crazy, it's important to take a step back and remember that and trying to incorporate that. So I thank you for that.
I'm glad I had a positive interaction and positive, I don't know, appeal to you. I'm still waiting for mine in return because all I get is negative comments from you.
Well, it took you 82 episodes.
Yeah. So I guess I'll have to wait for another 82 for it to come back to me. I get it.
I mean, if we can get the next one within like 41 episodes, we can cut that ratio down that it took you to have great ideas and we will be set.
Wow. Well, good
Is that
things
a
coming
compliment?
this year.
Hey everyone, I'm Brad from Calgary.
This is Sean from Cambridge, Ontario.
I'm Terry from Cornwall, Ontario.
Hey, this is Larry from Pitt Meadows, British Columbia, and you're listening to the Towing Life podcast.
Welcome to the Towing Life podcast, where the ditches are deep, the trucks are loaded, but the drivers are not. I'm your host, TowManG, and as usual, I'm joined by my co-host, friend, and former co-worker, the man with very strong opinions, Mr. PlainGuy. Also joining us this week is our wonderful producer, Sarah, that keeps everything well greased behind the scenes, week in and week out, even when she's not here. She keeps feeding us all these great ideas that we can hopefully incorporate into the show.
Absolutely. How are you, G? How are you, Sarah? Sarah, go first. No,
Okay.
Sarah, go first. I want to hear how Sarah's day was first.
My day was great. I want to hear how TowManG's day was.
Boo. All right. G, if for those of you that don't know, G has been sitting here stewing this entire time that we've been preparing for this episode. Going, I just want to tell you how my day was. I just want to tell you how my day was. I just want to tell you how my day was. And so I think we should make him wait a little bit longer. So
no, I got to know.
Okay, fine. We've got to know before we do all the episode plugs and all that. He's just sitting here. Look at the steam coming out of his ears. He is just ready. So, G, how was your day? And of course, that would be the time that he would run into a connection issue.
Yes.
G, I'll ask you one more time. This is your last chance. Okay. How was your day?
My day was good up until I got into my driveway. It's been very windy today, so my garbage and blue bins were all out, and when I pulled in, I found everything in the ditch about 200 meters down out of my driveway sitting in water.
Nice.
So I went and got wet to fetch those. And then I was like, okay, dropped off the bins upstairs, came back around. I was like, okay, I'll grab the bins, I'll unlock the door, and I'll put them right inside. As I set them down on my deck and I unlock the door, big gust of wind, and whoosh, there goes the garbage can. The lid breaks apart, and now I'm out with my gloves and my spotlight that I grabbed out of the tow truck when I came home, thankfully, looking in the bush for this black bin and the black lid, and yeah. So I got a little snow covered, actually more snow covered in that endeavor than I did all day working.
Do you guys have a lot of snow where you are?
Yes, about at least a foot and a half on the ground.
Okay, because our snow has, I know the recent snowstorm that we had, you guys were getting hit a lot harder up there. We were catching more of the tail end of it, and we still got a good 20 centimeters of snow. Mm-hmm. So I'm guessing you guys got hit with quite a bit more than that. It's
really windy right where we are too, so there'll be very little snow one spot and then a massive like 4 or 5 foot drift in another. So it was fun. It took me about 8 hours to get the whole lot cleared here the day of or the day after.
Well, I think that's what a lot of people forget. Blowing snow can be worse than actual accumulated snow.
Yeah.
Right? Like we've seen that a lot. If you get that, especially that cold snow, that very cold snow that is very light and fluffy, and you get a windy day as well.
Yeah.
Like we've seen roads have to close down because apparently, there's been shortages of toilet paper. There's been shortages of everything in the last couple of years. I think snow fence is one of them. Because I'm telling you, roads that normally have snow fence in my area don't have snow fence.
Yeah.
I don't know whose responsibility it is to have that in place, but it seems lacking. And we have
It's
one
a mixture
section
of the landowner cooperating with your local government.
Okay. Because we have this one stretch of road that every snowstorm they have to close down because of the snow drifts across it. I mean, you can plow it, doesn't matter. A minute later, it's going to be right back across. And it's like, I'm sure there's a solution to this. Like the city can start putting it on their property for all I care. We need to get this solved. But yeah, no, a windy day with garbage cans and everything else. That sounds like you had one of those. This was a great day today, and then it went off a cliff.
Yeah. And then I came home and now I've got internet issues and we try to record a podcast. So
yeah. So Elon Musk, again, if you are listening, we could really use that Starlink because unless the satellite gets up in the sky and gets all kinds of windy, I don't think it works like that in space.
Well, I have satellite internet currently, but it's not Starlink.
So that's the problem. You went with the Wish version of Elon Musk, and that is what you get for it.
Yeah. I ordered my internet off Wish. That's what I did.
And Sarah, how are things down in the wonderful state of Georgia?
Well, see, this is why I didn't want to say how my day was because it was 25 degrees here today.
Oh, bugger off.
It was beautiful.
We're talking 25 degrees Celsius, I'm guessing, because it's not 25.
I converted it. No, it's 77
well, thank you
degrees
for doing
Fahrenheit.
that for us peasants.
Hey, I still can't get the conversion right, and I try really hard, and my husband's always like, speak in Fahrenheit, and I'm like, I can't. I don't understand it.
Speak in the language that only one country in the world uses.
Yeah,
I think it's
my
3.
defense.
I think it's only 3 countries in the whole world still use Imperial.
Are there 3
what
countries?
country uses the Imperial system other than America?
Okay,
Are you Googling it? There is 3.
I am.
Because miles I get. I get miles. I get why they use miles. I don't get Fahrenheit.
Oh, he is right. Wow, that is actually like TowManG bonus points. Only 3 countries: the U.S., Liberia, and I can't pronounce
Islands.
Yeah.
No, I got Myanmar.
Oh, really?
I can't pronounce that right.
Myanmar.
Yeah, Myanmar. They were in the news recently, but I can't remember why. But it wasn't for anything good. So, yeah,
I know a lot about a little, or a little about a lot. Unfortunately, I can never remember the actual statistics that I'm trying to quote. But yeah,
did you know 75% of stats are made up?
Yeah,
on the spot.
That. That percentage changes depending on who you're asking.
Do you want to know the percentage changing of like our work quality? So like, I'll lay out a situation. I had a guy come and pick up a Dodge thing out of my impound to take it to scrapper to Copart or wherever the hell he was taking it. Okay. And he was pumping up the rear tire, right? Yeah. Because it was a little flat, and he was putting it on the wheel. Granted, he had another front wheel drive car on the bed, so he could have swapped them around since he knows that he had a leaky tire. Anyways, he gets it picked up. He does his wheel straps, and he double wraps his safety chains on a chevron bed, which he doesn't have to be. And I said to him, I was like, it's actually kind of nice to see someone pulling a car out. I think you're the first guy I've ever seen to pull a car out of here with 2 wheel straps and 2 safety chains, with the casualty on the bed with 4 wheel straps on. I don't think I've ever seen that, because a lot of times you see those scrap hauler guys that, cut some corners.
Yep.
And then he goes and says, yeah, I got these corded tow lights, and he tried to show me a magnet trick to put it on the hood to keep the corded wire sitting in the middle of the car off the bed of off the back, which I thought was pretty neat. Hood was aluminum, so that didn't work. And then he actually showed me a trick I didn't think about with the corded lights, especially with the bed. You know how we always had the carabiner on the boom to keep the extra slack?
Yep.
Well, he took the extra slack. He wrapped it around the driver's side mirror about 3 times, and then opened up the driver's door with the slack and closed the cord on the driver's door. So now, if you get that customer that says, "Oh, I need something," and opens up the door, the tow lights don't come flying off the back of the car.
And scratching whatever the tow lights are mounted
Yeah,
on. Not the worst
and
idea.
I was like, "Oh, that's pretty cool." And one of my other coworkers who was standing there, he was like, "Oh, why don't you get a wireless light?" And he was like, "Well, I got these lights for free from some guy a couple years ago, and I've been using them ever since. And to spend $400 on a tow bar, like a tow light bar, it's like, how long is it going to take me? If I was running from call to call to call, sure, but I'm picking up just cars from like you and taking them to scrap. So it's not really any time savings, and I'm not going to be making any additional money from that time savings." It's like, "Oh yeah, that sounds fair enough." And he pulls away, and they don't work. He's never checked his lights in 4 years. They don't work, and all my respect for this guy just went from here to the ground.
You know what? I don't agree with your respect dropping on that one, because I think the fact that he took the efforts and took the extra precautions, maybe he was having a one-off. Yes, he forgot to check them that time. Obviously, he didn't do his check on his lights, to make sure everything was working. But I mean, the fact that he took all those extra precautions. Now, I don't understand where he doesn't see the efficiency, though, still of a tow bar, because it's like, unless he's only doing one run a day where, you know what, the extra minute isn't going to hurt me,
Mm-hmm.
it's one thing. But if he's doing this to scrap nonstop,
Mm-hmm.
but you are right. Scrap haulers, and I call them scrap haulers. I mean, there's a lot of terms that go around in the towing industry, and some people take a lot of offense to them, right?
He worked for a big company that isn't known for just hauling scrap.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
But maybe that's where they train their new guys.
Well, he
Right?
said he's been doing it for a couple of years at least.
Okay, so
He
maybe
says that they'll feed him like 18 of these and then tell him to go tow the Lambo from a car show, and then he does all the same techniques from hauling scrap, and he was like, "Oh, maybe I shouldn't do that."
Yeah, that's fair. And maybe
He
this guy
admits it.
maybe his ownership has put him in situations that they go, yeah, you can just stick to them scrap cars.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with scrap hauling. Towing is towing, and taking the proper precautions is great to see,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's this opposite of what I ran into recently, where I just had a guy show up at our yard picking up accidents that were going off to a towing yard, right, or to an auction. So these cars were not in that bad of shape. He already had a Subaru, and I actually gave him one of the podcast cards. So if you were listening to this, trust me, this is not a personal attack. I have a lot of respect for you. He had a Subaru up on the bed with a rear wheel damage. So this vehicle is not going on the wheel lift. Understandable. He then came to our yard, because I don't think he might have got the Subaru from us as well. I don't remember. He came to our yard and he hooked up a Nissan Rogue SUV. Now, one thing you'll know is about 90% of Nissan Rogues are all-wheel drive.
Mm-hmm.
I would say 90% is a pretty fair number. The older was less likely, the newer is more likely.
Mm-hmm.
And he had this thing up on his wheel lift, and I will give him props. He had straps over the wheels. He had safety chains hooked up. I don't remember looking for the tow light. I didn't actively look for the tow light. And I seen him rolling out of the yard. And he looked a little new. You could tell he was having some, just the way he was double checking things. You could tell he wasn't quite sure about it.
Mm-hmm.
And he rolled out and he came into the office to get some paperwork. And I happened to see one of his wheel straps was below the halfway point on a tire. He was using the 8-point tie down.
Mm-hmm.
And we got talking about it in the office, because one of our office managers did a little bit of towing. She's not super fluent in it, but she's like, "Is that right?" And I'm like, "No, it should be higher up." I had a new guy in there at the same time. So I'm going to go out and just check on this guy, right?
Yeah.
We are so quick in this industry to get our phones out and take photos or videos and shame people, but not actually take the time to maybe see if they're willing to learn. Some people aren't. Some people, you can walk up to them and go, "Hey, you really want to do that?" And they might tell you to just F off.
Go pound salt, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Some people are actually open to it. So the first thing, I went out and seen this guy, and I said, looking at the tire strap, looking at this Rogue, which I'm 95% sure is all-wheel drive, which it was, I said, "Hey, that all, like, did you take anything off? Did you remove the drive shaft? Anything like that?" And he goes, "No, why?" I'm like, "Well, the vehicle's all-wheel drive. Like, I don't know. Maybe there's something I don't know about the Nissans."
Right.
Pretty sure you're not supposed to tow them like that, especially with the wheels locked up. Again, he had L arms and he had
Mhm.
straps and he had safety chains. He did everything right.
Yeah.
I'm like, he's like, well, I don't know. I just started this week.
Hmm.
So I said, well, maybe take a second and call your boss, your supervisor, your manager, your owner, whoever it may be,
Right.
and just let him know what's going on. The last thing I want to see you do is run down the highway and burn up something in your first week. It's
Yeah.
not a good precedent to set, right? I've let go of guys for less than that.
Yeah.
So he gets on the phone and he talks to his boss, and his boss says, yeah, he runs them all the time like that to the auction. It's going about 80, 90 kilometers.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. You've covered your ass.
Yeah.
Right? You've protected yourself. If something happens to this car, there's, the auction comes back and there's secondary damage, whatever the case may be. Would I tow it like that? God, no.
No.
But to each their own.
At least chain slinged it so the front tires can spin too if something does lock up.
That was my fear. Something would lock up going up the highway.
Yeah.
Or, in the worst case scenario, and we've seen it many times, something would ignite or catch fire.
Mm-hmm.
So he checked with his boss. Everything is good. I said, hey, while I'm at it, can I show you a trick for the tire straps? And he, young enough guy, seemed open and willing. Absolutely. So I went out and I showed him how to line up the tire strap. And if you've ever used the 8-point tie down, the one mistake I see guys make, if it's not for the height of the tire strap, it's that they put it dead center right away. And then when they ratchet it, it offsets it.
Yeah.
So I try and teach the guy to go a little bit offset to the one side. When you ratchet it, it'll center out. It'll be nice and even and smooth.
Yeah.
Cool. Show him that. Seen another tire. He goes, this tire's kind of rough. I couldn't get it around. I think I could just hook a hook to the rim with the ratchet, like the hook end of it. It didn't have chains. It had something else. I told him maybe not. Here, let me show you. We went through the spoke and back up to the front, and it worked. And it worked good. So, it was one of those times where no one's better than it. I'm not better than this guy that's been at it a week, but you take the time to show them and to teach them, right? If there's any, as for the company, the fact that you sent this driver out, that is on you. I lost zero respect for this operator. I think this operator is doing the best that he can with what he has. But it is too easy for guys to just pull out their phone as this guy's rolling away and go, look at this Yahoo rolling out of my yard.
Yeah.
No, take the time. And operators that are new, be willing to listen. Right? Because if I would have walked out and I said, hey, what about that all-wheel drive? Mind your own business, pound salt. Cool. You know what? I will gladly drive by while you're getting the ticket on the side of the highway for an improper load down. Right? But the fact that this gentleman was willing to learn and willing to listen worked out well. Yeah. So as for the company, train your new guys. This guy was in his first week and he didn't know what an all-wheel drive was. Yeah. Or if there was any precautions. He didn't know what to do when there was a damaged wheel. You have this guy doing auction tows. You should not be sending a driver out to do auction tows that doesn't know how to deal with a damaged wheel. And again, I can't say this enough. This is not a shot at the driver or the operator. This is strictly at the company. Train your goddamn guy before you send him out. Do the industry a favor. Do your CVOR a favor. Because someone else is going to snap a picture of this guy going down the highway and it's going to end up on social media. Right? This guy's going to have a rear wheel lock up on him or, something go wrong. And he's going to be going down the highway and someone's going to be quick to grab their phone out, spread it all over social media. It's not just going to look bad on your company. It's going to look bad on the industry as a whole. And, so to those guys, train your new guys. To operators that see this shit going on, put the phone away for a second and try and have a conversation with another operator. Maybe they are just ignorant. Maybe. Or maybe they're just, not trained.
We see that all the time. Like driving down the road, you see something wrong with someone's vehicle. Like they're towing a trailer and the trailer lights are out. People will just snap a picture. I'm normally the guy that tries to get up beside the guy, honk my horn, say, hey, your lights aren't working on your trailer.
Yep.
Right? Just so I made him aware of the issue I saw, which is the same thing that you did in this situation with the new operator. Like, hey, there's something not quite right here. Can we try to figure it out together?
Yep.
And you think about it and you might think, depending on where you are in your career in the towing industry, that you might be better that operator. And for all we know, you could be. But
Mhm.
I'll tell you this. If you went out and you saw that brand new 100-ton rotator sitting in the parking lot, and just at the first glance of that truck, if you don't know how to operate that truck to the best of its capabilities without being shown or trained on that specific piece of equipment,
Mhm.
then you're not trained and you will make mistakes
Mhm.
because it's new to you, just like it's new to the new guys we are bringing into this industry.
Yeah.
So never think that you are above someone because of your knowledge. Instead of
Yep.
thinking that, say, maybe I could give this guy a little bit more information to help him be better in this industry as well.
Okay. No, you're 100% right. Right. We've all got to take steps to help the industry move forward. And if we're not going to do that, then what are we
Yeah.
doing? Right? What are we doing here complaining about all the shit and all the bad if we're not willing to take steps to fix those things in the industry? So
Oh, there's lots to be fixed.
there is plenty to be fixed. That is 100%. There
Yeah.
is so much to be fixed in the industry. Where do we start? 80 some episodes ago we have started, and we're still trying to get through all of it.
Oh, it's going to take us a long time.
It is going to take us a long time. Sarah, as for your concerns, there is no echo that I can hear. You seem to be all good on your audio side. We have been working out issues in the background while we've had this conversation.
Good. Thank you. I heard most of it, but lost Bluetooth along the way. I'm back though.
If it's not G's internet, it's producer Sarah's audio. It's the joys of working remotely. I mean, it always sounds fun, and you know, if anything, over the last couple of years has taught us that it's very possible to do a lot of things remotely.
Mm-hmm.
But if there's anything we've also learned is there's a lot of issues that come with it. So we will fix them and deal with them as we go. So
Driving in wintering conditions, I can manage that. Controlling the weather outside to give me better internet, I can't control that.
So that gets us to, as we talk about, you know, companies not training their operators or companies doing practices that maybe can be interpreted as questionable at times. We bring you to a story that producer Sarah, because she is so good at bringing good, deep articles that we've never heard before, wouldn't have found without her to it. We do have one for the show. We are going to play it. I hope everything works on the audio side. Let's see if this works. It should. So, from the CBC News, we'll give them their credit, and we will link the article in the description on YouTube and on Facebook. You know what? Before we get to that, towing is a career full of different situations, from vehicles missing a wheel to having none at all. A great operator learns to use all the tools in both his physical and mental toolbox. I'm here today to tell you about a new, exciting tool to add to your physical toolbox, the BakPul Hitch. Like many people on the internet, I had my doubts about this product. Doubts I personally aired on this podcast. But the fine folks over at BakPul Hitch sent me one of their products to try, and boy, was I surprised. Its quality of build and ease of use made me eat my words real quick. So if you're a doubter like I was, head over to bakpulhitches.com for more information and to find out how to add another tool to your toolbox. That's BAKPUL Hitches.com. It is a good time to mention, if you have any questions, comments, concerns for the show, this is why I wanted to do this earlier, because I forget. If you have any questions, comments, concerns for the show, where to find us? You can visit us at www.towinglife.ca. You can find us on Facebook at the Towing Life Podcast. You can also comment down below on YouTube. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, leave us a comment there. Do not forget, we currently have our recovery of the month going on right now. Enter your submissions. For those of you that have gone to the website and attempted to submit at towinglife.ca/recovery, you will need to, if it gave you a problem, be sure to email us directly at thetowinglife@gmail.com. Some people have reported issues. We've been working on it. It seems to be getting better. More submissions are rolling in continuously, but don't forget, at thetowinglife@gmail.com. And you will get a $50 Canadian Amazon gift card for being the recovery of the month. We've already had January. We have already had February. We are getting into March, April, May, June, July. This contest will roll out all the way till about mid-October. If not beginning of October, we will be setting the deadline at one point so that we can get the calendars out in time for 2024. So, that being said, it is time to hear the news of Winnipeg, Manitoba. I had to think about that. That was terrible. Winnipeg, Manitoba, a towing company getting itself in a little bit of hot water with its city with a contract.
I'm here at Tartan Towing's compound on Higgins Avenue. The city says Tartan overcharged them by $1.1 million over the course of 6 years. The city hired the company to do courtesy tows during residential parking bans starting in 2016. In December 2021, the city checked its records and found that several tows that it paid for didn't happen. That led to a wider review of all the contracts it had with Tartan. Now the city says it negotiated a settlement with the company to pay back less than half of what it's owed, $446,000. The chair of the Public Works Committee says she thinks the city should go after the full amount.
The city has the contract with the towing company. However, the towing company delivers the service, it's not our problem. They are responsible for delivering the service. I wonder why the towing company wasn't also checking with their contractors.
I asked for an interview with someone from Tartan, but the company said no one was available. A report from the city says it has changed tracking methods to make sure this doesn't happen again. It also says Tartan fired some of the drivers involved, gave a warning to others, while others have left the company. But Luke says there should be other consequences.
But in my opinion, I don't know how the committee will vote, but I honestly think this contractor shouldn't be allowed to continue, that should be suspended for a period of time.
Luke said she would also ask the city why police are not investigating. The Executive Policy Committee will consider the matter at its meeting next week. Cameron McLean, CBC News, Winnipeg.
So there's a lot to unpack in that,
Yeah.
right? There is a ton to unpack in that.
Now, remember, if you're trying to bring up the F word, it's potential, because we can't say that it is, because then we could be liable.
Oh, okay. I had
legally.
to figure out what F word you were referring to. My God, the politically woke society we live in now that I can't say the word FACTS. So all this is allegedly we're going to do. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make this my personal mission. Tomorrow, I'll try and report back on this next week. We're going to reach out to Tartan Towing out in Winnipeg and see if they are willing to. The same way we have given other companies in the past a chance to clear their name, I think it's only fair that we give them this same opportunity, because maybe there is something to this story that we aren't hearing.
Yeah.
Right. So the gist of it, if I caught this, was that Tartan Towing was contracted by the city to do courtesy vehicle removal during snow removal. If anyone has ever done this, how this normally works out, and I've seen it before, I love that they call it courtesy, because in my experience of how it works is the city will issue a ticket. The vehicle will then be towed and moved to a safe location, not impounded, but moved
just around the street, whatever.
Yep. And the towing company will then invoice the city. So the city pays the towing company, the city collects back from the ticket, which covers the cost of the towing, and we have a wonderful merry-go-round. Right? The consumer always pays. At the end of the day, the consumer always pays. So what is happening, it sounds like, is that the Tartan Towing is being accused of towing vehicles or submitting invoices for vehicles that were never towed. And this should be a pretty simple system to figure this out. If a parking ticket was not issued, the vehicle cannot be billed for tow. That being said, was there a miscommunication along the way? I could easily see that. Right? Bylaw didn't write the ticket, asked them to move the vehicle around the corner. Company submits the bill to the city. The city goes, I got no record of this being ticketed. Therefore, that's a fraudulent charge. The fact that employees have quit, got fired, or been warned doesn't look good.
Well, I mean, it could also be just the fact that they say, okay, the city goes, we're going to clear the snow off of 10 streets this week. And then the bylaw goes out and they ticket all these cars. And when they ticket all these cars, all those informations get sent off to the tow company, so Tartan in this case, saying, hey, these tickets have been issued, move these vehicles, please within a certain deadline. And by the time Tartan gets there, the vehicles that have been ticketed are gone. Some of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then they could say, okay, well, I've already got the paperwork here and it says like I've got the tow form for this vehicle to tow it. Well, it's not here, so yeah, it's done, right? As long as there's a
Oh, so
separate
like
folder
taking,
for it's
taking
yeah, they're taking credit for the actual customer moving their own vehicle by the time they get there after it's already been ticketed.
Well, this is something that I'd like to know what their system is in place for this. Because trust me, you think that working with a city or a police force would have great structure
Yeah.
and they would be organized.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you from personal experience, that is not the case.
No.
Right?
No.
I have seen that some of these city systems who can be some of the strictest toward the company under contract be more of a cluster than anything else.
Like wrong vehicles, wrong VINs, wrong plates, wrong colors.
Not even that. I don't want to obviously get into too many details on it, but issuing, okay, I can do this without getting in trouble. I hope. So, in an area nearby, they have a contract. In that contract, anything that is impounded or towed by the police comes with a tow sheet.
Yep. We have
Anything
the same
on that
concept.
tow sheet falls under a contracted tow, which means any contracted tow rates apply. Anytime there is a tow sheet, the customer needs to, or owner of the vehicle, or person speaking on behalf of the owner of the vehicle, must attend the police station to get an authorization to release and come to us. So that vehicle needs an authorization to release. If they come in and say the officer said the MTO, doesn't matter. I don't care if the MTO has given you permission without that sheet. That is what we have been taught through the contract, or they have been taught through the contract that there has to be that sheet. But then there'll be times where I've talking to one of their guys and they go, we towed the vehicle to them for an inspection and they release the vehicle right from there. Well, we have a tow sheet. We need a release to go with this tow sheet. So how, you think that when the city gets involved, everything would be a little bit smoother, or in this case, it would be a township. It's not. So I would love to hear from the city of Winnipeg or the councillor, whoever this lady was that made this statement against them. And she seems pretty adamant that they were in the wrong, and go, what is the system? It's one thing to say that you overcharge us, and maybe they did. But is your system flaw proof? Is it possible that the mistake is on your end? And so we will make an effort, along with the help possibly of producer Sarah and her investigative journalism. Obviously we're running out on time with her, and we will explain that as we go. But we will try and get to the bottom and either contact this wonderful person from Winnipeg or this towing company, because I'd like to know the bottom of this story. I believe there's more to this story, and that CBC article, God bless them, they seem to have done a good job. Their video was great and their production was amazing. I think is missing out some key points on this. Again, without the towing company being willing to give a statement, it's going to be hard to tell. But
the only thing
say in the article that the city has also changed its tracking methods.
Yeah.
So it does sound maybe.
Which does make it sound that the city might not have a perfect grasp on this system.
So what you're suggesting is what you think is going on is that the towing company gets the call. Okay, this car is parked not illegally, but I guess in a towing area. So the towing company gets it, but maybe by the time they get there, the customer's already moved the car.
And they're billing for the service. I don't think that's what's happening.
Okay.
It is a possibility, though. It would be the ticket has already been issued for that vehicle, so then it's paid on their end, and the towing company shows up. It's not in the designated area that the town has told them it is.
It's going to come. So it's based on the rates to figure out, because we're talking like $1.1 million. We're not talking $5,000, $10,000. So either their tow rate is really high, or this has been mismanaged for years and years
Well,
and
it
years.
said it was for 3 to 5 years, I think.
Yeah, it's
1.1
since
million
2016.
Yeah.
1.1 million over private parking over 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It's still a lot. It's a lot of private parking.
Yeah.
So again, and Winnipeg's not, I mean, Winnipeg's a decent sized city, but we're
Mhm.
only talking about winter, right? This is only for snow removal. So there's only like the window on this is small enough that that's a large amount. I'm wondering if there was a miscommunication among
Yeah.
how this program operates, right? So it's, hey, go down that street and grab any cars that you see, but then they're not issued tickets. And then regardless, if that is what is happening, the city of Winnipeg needs to be held to a certain amount of, responsible for this. And I
Mhm.
think that's why you're seeing the settlement that they're agreeing to is half, because the city has to assume some responsibility. If
Mhm.
you allowed that kind of money for that period of time and that system to go that unchecked, you're just as fault as the company that is possibly causing issues for you. That is a mismanagement of city funds, and you equally deserve to be looked into. And I think that's why there is, like I said, the settlement wasn't for the full value. Now, did if it was for the full value, I would be more likely to believe that the company had malintent.
Yeah.
There could have been bad, the one word you heard in there was that, they're responsible for their contractors. So my first question is that towing company a Tartan Towing running employees or running contractors?
Yeah.
Right? If you are running a commission-based, and we got into this last week, a
Mhm.
commission-based system on something like that, you are more likely to have there's an incentive for
To inflate the
operators.
bill a little bit.
I don't even think we're talking inflating, but it could be that scenario that you're running. Yeah, I towed it. Why not?
Yeah.
Right? Even if you didn't, there could be that incentive
Yeah.
there for those kind of
You
situations.
do
So,
one extra one a day that you didn't actually have to do, and that will bring your yearly salary up a fair bit at the end of the year.
but again, we're talking if you do one more every day for only 6 months, let's say, at worst case,
Yeah.
right? Because it's Winnipeg and it's fucking cold and there's a lot of snow.
Yeah.
I don't get how you're getting a 1.1 mil. I mean, these have got to be some decent. I call it private parking. It's courtesy tows.
Well, they
Right.
did say it was through all their avenues of towing, I'm pretty sure.
What do you mean?
So it was once they found that that Tartan Towing had an issue, they actually went through and they looked through all their other
No, it
contracts as
sounds
well.
like they found the one,
Yeah.
and then they went from there and checked all the previous years. They did
Mm.
an audit on this contract. It could be right. It could be for other tows. Maybe this involves some police tows, some other
Yeah.
stuff like that. Maybe that is the case, but it just sounds like they found something off, went and did an audit, and found it went back to that time period.
Mm.
But I truly, like I said, just based on experience and different things that I've seen and people that I have talked to, the city could have a fair share of responsibility. I'm not saying Tartan. I'm not sitting here and just defending Tartan. If they did wrong, and they took an opportunity that was given them to them by the city, which if it's 1.1 million just of fraudulent tows,
Yeah.
I mean that's a decent contract. That's just the fraudulent tows.
Mhm.
Would you really throw that away? I mean, 1 mil, like a mil's enough money. So I mean, I've seen people do dumb things for less money,
Yeah.
but yeah, right. But you really wonder. The settlement changes it for me. The fact that they've agreed on a 50% and the fact that the city has changed their tracking, the city's forced to change their tracking because obviously they went, hey, you guys aren't really doing a good job of this
Yeah.
if you've allowed this to go on. But at the same time, I'm not quick to just pin this all on the towing company until we get a little bit more information on it.
Well, yeah, and like reaching a settlement is in everyone's best interest, really, regardless if there was right or wrong. Because to try to go after the full amount, to be honest, most companies probably wouldn't be able to float 1.1 million just out of the bank the next day.
550 though.
Well, it's
that's
a little easier,
all
right?
right.
If I owe you $1 million, you have a problem. If I can't pay it back, if I can pay it back, I have the problem.
Yeah, it's fair. If you make it to a number that is at least reasonable. Yeah, and the city's got to try and save face on this and everything else. But we are going to. I'm going to make it my mission because I don't have enough things going on right now. That I am going to reach out to Tartan Towing. I will call them. and see if I can get their side to the story, and maybe even have them on this podcast. Right? If not, we'll see what information we can get and what they're willing to
Make
share.
sure you record that phone call.
Yeah, I want to. Well, of course, record it with their permission. I'm not going CBC Marketplace on them there, sneaking in with the cameras. I'm not driving out to Winnipeg to do an audit on it. I mean, if they want me, if they invite me, maybe I've got some time coming up. Maybe we could fly down to Winnipeg and do an exclusive site, but I think that's a little bit of an aggressive take.
Yeah. For one article, for one episode of our show.
Yeah. Let's just blow the budget early this year. Let's just take the budget rate out of the way.
No tow show this year for us.
We decided to take a trip to Winnipeg for a 1-hour sit down.
I think it would be better to go out to BC and see Jamie out there. That'd be pretty cool.
Oh, Jesus. You are so in love with Jamie. Jamie, if anyone from your company is listening, or if you are listening, can somebody reach out and give TowManG a hey, how are you? It would absolutely make his day.
I'm more of a choiring fan myself, to be honest with you.
Al Choiring, can you please reach out?
Al's great.
Yeah,
Sarah,
he is.
Use your connections and get this guy a hey, hello, a sign. You know what I have? I have something from Heavy Rescue, or from Highway Through Hell, actually.
Do you?
I have, and this is kind of sad at the same time, I have a hat from a company that we used to work for, signed by Ken Monkhouse. I do. An operator that we worked with went out west and met him and got an extra hat signed for me and brought it back. It's sitting up in my closet in my office, actually.
Oh, nice.
So it's a sad moment at the same time because of the passing of Ken. But at the same time, it's kind of a cool little memory. I always was a fan of him from what I've seen on the show. And yeah. So maybe.
So, does that mean you like Highway Through Hell better than Highway 401?
Oh, he's
yes,
made this
100%.
abundantly clear.
Oh, really?
It's more entertaining.
It's more hillbilly.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say that. Everyone on Highway Through Hell, I apologize. I don't mean that.
But when you see 3 D9 dozers and an excavator pulling out another stuck excavator, like, show me that on 401. Like,
we don't need them. We have trucks equipped for the job. We don't need dozers.
Well, in the back of a quarry, down a forest logging road, and
it's hold it. We are not gonna. Maybe one day we'll fight this. Let's have a debate on Heavy Rescue versus Highway Through Hell.
Oh, that's not even a debate. It's 100% Highway Through Hell.
I'm in. We've got work to do, man. We are making promises that we are going to have to. I'm in. We will try, because this one I'm not committing to. How about this? We will try to get 1 star from Heavy Rescue 401 and 1 star from Highway Through Hell, and we will sit down with them. And you can sit there on your Highway Through Hell pedestal that you live on, and we will debate it out on who is better. Now, most of the people I know from those shows are not going to say theirs is better. So we'll have to really bait them into that one, I think. But I think it's definitely something we can make happen. With producer Sarah's contacts on the west and our contacts down here on the east, we can definitely make this happen. Battle of the Coasts. Battle of the Coast. And the East Coast definitely wins.
I'm making a note.
Okay. Put it in the notepad for not next episode, but put it in the notepad so we remember it this time and we don't go check this out on episode 135 and forget about it.
Make sure you actually put it somewhere where we can see it, because I know you might not be around with us for too much longer. So if it's not easily accessible,
she's not dying. Can you not make the listeners at home think she's dying? You might not be.
Well, she might be a little preoccupied to talk to us fellows.
Sarah, would you like to give the news, or would you like us to? I don't know if she's having issues again, the way she's blindly looking around her screen. She may not be able to hear us. So yeah, but don't make it sound like she's dying. Like, we have exciting news to bring to the TowManG podcast.
It's also sad too, because she's not going to be here with us.
I think that's right. I think we will definitely have to try. We're waiting. So Sarah's encountering audio issues once again.
If it's not me cutting out, it's her mic stop working.
No, it's not her mic. It's the audio. She's having a hard time. She can't hear us.
Oh.
I think once she has gotten it figured out and once she can hear us again, I'm hoping she'll pipe up. But yeah. what else do you have going on, G? Like, how has it been for you? Has it slowed down at all? Is it like, are you guys back to normal down there? Are you...
I mean, it's slowed down. It has its days, right? Like today was fairly slow. Yesterday was pretty busy, and we've got a different dispatcher in, and so it's a little bit of a learning curve with new dispatch that's not normally in all the time, and it's I don't know. I'm still trying to find that fun mojo funk that we were talking about last episode to really get me in the spirit again, but it's a little hard.
That's fair. I took a mental health day today.
Did you?
And my mental health day, I took a road trip down the highway with a tow.
Huh.
To really, I had been with everything going on and just circumstances. I've been not off the road, but not too far from the office.
Mm.
And I was very overdue to go for a ride, so I went for a ride in about a 2-hour one-way trip, so 4-hour round trip kind of thing. And it
That's
was
not
nice
bad.
to get back on the highway, get some music going, be in my happy place.
Mm.
So, producer Sarah, now that you are back,
What a day
G
with
is-
technology.
absolutely, G has almost made it sound. G has kind of hinted that you won't be with us for much longer. He made it sound like you were dying.
I did not.
He did.
I was trying to add a little suspense to it. Keep
Oh,
the listeners at home on the edge of their seat. Hopefully you're not driving at that time, because then you probably won't be able to stop or go. But
that's some dark suspense. So, would you like us to tell the listener what is going on, or would you like to share it yourself?
I guess I can share it myself. The funny thing is I don't think I've made a big deal about it with a lot of people. And so it actually got spoiled by somebody else on Facebook recently. And then my inbox blew up and I was like, oh yeah, I guess I didn't mention it. So now feels like the time to mention that for the last 9 months, I've been pretty busy working on making a baby. And as of next week, hopefully the little baby comes along. So I'll have to be taking a break from the podcast while I get through the newborn phase.
if you're listening to this on day of release, that's
Oh,
the
yeah.
day.
Today's the day. I'm being induced, March 15th.
So no, you're taking a well-deserved break. I'm sure you are excited. This is your first, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's no other little ones other than the dogs running around. This is the first baby.
Yeah, we have 2 dogs that take up that first sibling block, I guess.
But no, it is true. You know what? Obviously we follow each other through social media. We talk different things, and it's like it's something I completely forgot until you came to us and you went, "Hey, by the way, this episode coming up is going to be my last for a little bit because I'm getting induced." And I'm like, "Oh yeah,
You're a trooper, because every episode that you're here, it's not a big deal at all.
No, I didn't want to be one of those weird women that just obsess about their baby all the time. So I think I went too far in the opposite direction, and everybody's always like, so do you want to talk about this?
Like, and that's kind of like such an awkward conversation to have because it's like, is that thing still happening?
Yeah. So
Right?
I put friends in an awkward position. Also, for the first 6 months, I didn't show at all. So people who knew were like, are you really having a baby? Is it all in your head? And then all of a sudden I just blew up and they're like, oh, okay.
Well, that was during pre-recording. All of a sudden you went up to go get a drink and I'm like, oh my God, you are ready to pop. Like I have seen you throughout when we've sat down and done this episode. You've walked up to the camera. I've never noticed. You were not, it wasn't obvious. And then today I was like, oh man, you are ready. So we are more than excited for this awesome news, and more than excited to hear how everything goes, and to, we'll have to give the listeners a little update every once in a while. Obviously, the two of us yahoos talking about babies while you're not here is going to be, you think we're uneducated about things we talk about now? Like, I'm going to be like, so is it like walking now? And you'll be like, it's been a month, PlainGuy. Like, it doesn't walk.
And no, she is not naming the baby after you.
I'll settle for a middle name.
Don't give it to him.
PlainGuy. No, it's not going to work.
As long as he doesn't get it either, I'm okay with it. I'm not kidding. I'm like, I'm okay with not playing with it, as long as he's not allowed either. So, but I would settle for a middle name or a nickname. Nickname is fine.
Okay, we can talk about the nickname.
Okay, I'd even settle. Now, this being said, with this awesome news that you've got the baby coming, let me ask you, everything you have seen through this show and seen through the industry, would you encourage your child? I mean, we're still talking a couple of years off, but do you think the towing industry is a direction in which you would guide your child?
It was actually something that my husband and I were talking about recently. Is we are both college educated, and I don't mean to say that to be like, whoa, we are college educated, because that's one thing that we actually both regret, is that we wasted time in college. And we both have a lot of respect for the trades. And we were talking about, like, how do you get a child who doesn't have either parents that are super mechanical to become mechanically minded? But we're actually going to encourage our kids to explore trades, whether that be towing, mechanics, hands-on, because I really truly believe that the trades are always going to be necessary. We're always going to need people that know how to work with their hands, and we're not saying that enough in the current generation. So yeah, I would be very proud if my little Michael grew up to be a tow truck operator.
Perfect. Well, if you ever want, you send him down to Ontario to see Uncle PlainGuy, and I will teach him the mechanical trades and many curse words to go with it. So we'll talk in 18 years about this.
Yeah.
You'll make sure to feed him a bunch of pop and candy, shake them all up real nice, and send them back.
Yeah,
What would that be? That would be like episode 600 of the Towing Life podcast. I guess we'd be there.
I think it's farther than that. I don't know. I'm not good at math tonight, but absolutely, we'll send him back to Georgia with bagged milk and a sense of towing knowledge. I don't know if you even get the
don't do that, because then you'll get him introduced to snow. They don't have snow down there. Towing's completely different.
Then he's going to have to learn Celsius. It's going to be all complicated.
Oh, no. He's going to have to get on pace with the rest of the world. Oh, my God. How mean would that be for the child? Yeah. Think of the children.
He'll learn Celsius, and then he'll move to Great Britain, and then he'll just be thrown through a loop. Like, what's a stone?
Mom, they pay for things in pounds, and I don't understand. So
I know I'm 175 pounds, but I didn't think I was valued that low.
So, no, congratulations on everything. Yes. We joke, we laugh, we do all the different things. Everything you have brought to the show up to this point has been phenomenal, and I'm sure we will continue to get updates. And whenever we get through this stage and we get, we'll get some updates. I want updates for the show. That is one thing. I don't want pictures. I don't care whatever. I just want to get updates at least for the show and take the time. We talk about taking time away from the industry. If there's one thing that I think G and I can both respect, take some time, you, your husband, your new son, and enjoy it. And enjoy the hell out of it. Because if there's one thing without kids, I can tell you, time goes by way too fast.
Mm-hmm.
Way too fast. So you don't worry about us too uneducated. We'll be canceled by the time you get back, because if we got to do this many episodes without you keeping us in check, I am telling you, TowManG or myself is ending up on a tabloid somewhere for something dumb that we said. So hopefully we have a job for you to come back to when you are ready.
Well, you haven't seen the last of me, that's for sure.
Perfect. Well, that being said, I think it is a great way to end the episode with some amazing news like that. So we will see you all again next week. Do not forget the towinglife.ca. On behalf of myself, TowManG, who's frozen up once again, producer Sarah, and the next generation of producer Sarah to come. Thanks for coming out. We'll see you next week. Take care.
Toodles.
Bye.
I got back in just in time for the Toodles.
What great timing.
Dude, I dragged it out for so long.
Just so you
Just
know.
because I see you frozen up, and I'm like, oh no.